Hi, it's me. Welcome back to a Limbus company on today, May the 15th. We have two new identities on the day. We have the Ring Pointillist student Otis, who is our new 2-star, who has a paintbrush. She is indeed an artist. An artiste. And she's only just kind of like... I don't like their drip, I'll be honest with you. They just kind of aren't drippy even in the slightest. But then we also have, if it'll scroll over, it will not. Okay, it doesn't automatically do that anymore. The Ring Pointillist student Yi Sang, who is our 3-star for today. And I'll be honest, he's a little skibidi.
점수는 F. 발로는 듣지 않겠다.
Okay, it sounded like she was definitely supposed to speak more there, but okay.
점이 모여 만드는 빛과 그림자의 미학을 이해하고 있나? 모른다면 지금부터라도 숙지해라.
Incorrect. The use of pointillism techniques will greatly reinforce this area. Going by the Fauvist methodology, as you have suggested, would give far too little detail on the left side of the frame. What, is your tasteless animal mask blurring your vision? It is so hard to see that your technique will make the final piece imbalanced. Is that all you can glean from the striking use of primary colors? I should have known better than to expect even an ounce of nuance from a dotting machine of the pointillists. The heck is a Fauvist? These are Season 0 IDs, by the way. They're not Season 4 like I expected them to be. And that means you can get them whenever, which is strange. This also means that they are the 3rd syndicate to be in standard fare. A dotting machine? Ha! We depict the flow of light without letting garish colors and overcomplicated lines crowd the image. It is not mechanical, it is merely rational. The exquisite rendering of depth. I dare say that our philosophy embodies what constitutes true artistry. This is a rather common sight among the members of the Ring. While this collaborative effort certainly allows for more communication between them and made more room for new inspirations and positive feedback, to be a part of the Ring is to be prideful. These conversations rarely did ever end amicably. They don't even have any pride skills. Anyways, Cubist? Fine, let's talk about depth then. Wouldn't you say that the works of us Cubists, which seek to incorporate and hold the three-dimensionality within a single gaze, far surpass anything that your faction could come up with in that regard? Fine, I'll admit that there is a certain depth to Cubist art. But such unmitigated deconstruction of your subjects. Now that brings with it quite the unintuitiveness, doesn't it? The child's taunts kicked the proverbial hornet's nest. The 8th layer quickly turned into a chaotic mess. A chaotic mess of indignant and intense arguments about the artistic and technical superiority of each other's faction. In the midst of that chaos, the Fauvist from earlier suddenly asked the child a rather pointed question. So you claim that pointillism art stands above that of every other faction? Is that it? I believe that you are misrepresenting the severity of my assertions. In truth, my belief is that the work of each maestro is incomparable to one another in their ineffable profoundness, regardless of which faction they represent. I wouldn't even dare to discuss the notion of the objective superiority of one art over the other. The child added the last bit in an effort to douse the flames she started. After all, this was a group project. She had to work with people from other factions to complete this task. I merely suggested that we make use of our technique as we worked on the rough sketch of our project. I meant no disrespect to the other factions. Besides, our deadline is coming up, and these unproductive arguments are costing us precious time. We don't want to miss the deadline, do we? Right, I don't even want to think of what would happen. Good, we're in agreement. Then we should at least get through the rough sketch first. All of you, quit gawking and return to your positions. Let's get it done. If there was one thing everyone in the room agreed on, it was that they did not want to miss the deadline. They all quickly returned to their seats, lightly trembling from the sheer thought of the consequences. It was a pretty weak defense, but it was precisely what she needed to say to divert people away from this argument. After all, it was true that they didn't have much time to complete the task. Failing to complete the deadline would be extremely unpleasant, to say the least. Besides, she had other responsibilities to attend to, aside from this particular task. Next, she isn't always the student getting her work graded. Her other responsibility was to grade the shabby artwork of countless civilians who crowded to be under the ring's protection. This isn't art. This is nothing more than a bloody mess. I can't even tell you what you were trying to do here. No, please, look closer. There's... The child reached out and wiped the blood off the artwork with her hand. Once the wet blood was wiped clean, she could see the painting the civilian drew using his own blood. Did you really think that this uninspired garbage would earn you the protection of the ring? Please, please, this is literally all I... The child spits heartlessly at the civilian, who could barely stand due to severe anemia. I won't hear any more excuses. I'm failing you. For the third time. The civilian's face turned even paler. He knew the consequences of failing for the third time. First failure, a warning. Second failure, withdrawal of the ring's protection. And the third failure... Any last words? I'll paint over it. Please, I can improve it. Just give me a chance. Oh, you're going to paint over this art you presented before me as complete? I don't need to waste any more time on someone who doesn't even have an ounce of pride for their work. The child picked up the large weapon she had left leaning on the wall and slowly brought it toward the civilian, who was sobbing and screaming with terror. It needn't be said that the civilian was never seen nor heard from again. Next. Not bad. I see some potential there. I'll give you a C+. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. What's this now? You made a sculpture with your son's amputated arms. How bland. She rarely ever takes more than 10 seconds to review and grade each submission. Of course, many protest her quick evaluations, but all she can think about is her own unfinished task waiting for her back at the Atelier. She had to get this business over with as soon as possible. Perhaps the civilian standing in line felt the child's cold gaze. The civilian holds his amputated son in his arms and awaits the child's assessment. His eyes are shut tight in terrified anticipation. And the child's judgment was as merciless as the civilian had expected. Failing grade. Dang. Which one is District 22? That's the one right before W, so that's V, isn't it? I believe. I think that's how the alphabet works. Which we have no knowledge about. That's insane. Okay. Pointillist student Otis. 159 HP, so lower than average for level 40. 3 to 6 speed, 38 defense level, which is a low defense level, weak to blunt, resistant to pierce. That doesn't surprise me. First off, passive. Combat start for 4 lust owned. Inflict 2 potency for one of the following effects on one enemy with the least types of negative effects. Burn, bleed, tremor, rupture, or sinking. Effect selected at random, and focused encounters apart. So this is the thing that the ring does. They're bleed IDs. But they have skills that inflict a bunch of random bullshit. And you're gonna see that in their kits quite frequently. Support passive, one ally with the least SP heals 4 SP when defeating an enemy with bleed. Heal 1 additional SP for every type of negative effect on the target. Max 4 once per turn. I mean, 8 SP on kill is not really that important. The in-battle passive is funny, though. Defense skill. It's a 7 to 13 guard. On use if the target has 10 plus bleed, coin power plus 3, so it becomes a 7 to 16. I don't know why they've never given us really awful guards like G-Corp Otis has anymore. Like, I'm not asking for bad defense skills, but like, it's a little strange that all guards nowadays seem to have a much higher roll than when the game first released. Skill 1 is a 3 to 11 Pierce Lust skill with 2 coins, dotting. If target has 6 plus bleed, clash power plus 1, and both hits inflict 1 bleed. Very standard bleed fare. Clash power plus 1. I mean, this is probably better at Uptie 4. Sanguine Painting is a 5 to 13 Wrath Pierce skill with 2 coins. If the target has 6 plus bleed, clash power plus 1. Coin 2, 20% chance to reuse coin, plus 20% more chance to reuse coin for every type of negative effect on the target, On hit, inflict 1 bleed count, and when reusing coin with this coin's effect, inflict 1 more bleed count. Yeah, so they have reuse. So in damage, this technically can go up to 5 to 17, thanks to the second coin being able to reuse once. The 20% more... I wasn't expecting a 20% base chance to reuse the coin. I was expecting it only to reuse with status on the enemy. But it's nice that it has a base chance to do it. I'm hoping that it's not that bad to activate this frequently, though. Skill 3, Artwork Inspection, 4 to 16 Gluttony Pierce skill with 2 coins. Deal 10% more damage for every type of negative effect on the target, up to 30%. On use, apply 1 haste next turn to 2 allies adjacent to this unit on the dashboard, so we got a little bit of support in this too. Coin 2, on hit inflict 3 bleed. On hit, inflict 3 potency for one of the following effects, being burn, bleed, tremor, rupture, or sinking, with the effect selected at random, and after attack, if the target is staggered or defeated, apply 1 pierce damage up next turn to one other ally with the highest SP. I thought this would be count. I don't know, maybe I didn't read the announcement close enough, but I expected this to be count and not potency, but it should be fine either way, I think. As a bleed ID, well, let's put it this way, bleed has the least reliable gimmick, because of how quickly its count goes away. This does not seem to solve the problem because it doesn't inflict any count in any real amounts unless you get the second hit on the second coin of Sanguine Painting. Even then, 3 count is not that much for bleed. But, I mean, as a support unit, this is alright. It does, in fact, give haste to allies, which is something Otis has done better on other IDs, but it's nice to have it on a bleed ID. And I guess it's nice to have a gluttony on a bleed ID, too. You don't... I feel like that's not very common. Because one thing I had to do when I was doing the Fairy Festival fights was I had to find a bleed ID that was Gluttony Wrath, so that I could feel Wing Beat. And the only IDs I could find... The only ID that I could find that fit the bill that was also bleed was Base Rhodian, which was the whole thing with me up-tying her to 4 in that video. But having more Gluttony in bleed setups is going to be nice, even if this ID probably isn't run in bleed. Skill 1 gains, if the target has 10 plus bleed, coin power plus 1, so theoretically this could be a 4 to 14, though I have a feeling that that's not going to be the case, because that's a lot of bleed potency. Skill 2 gains an additional clash power if the target has 6 plus bleed, and the base reuse is 40%, and it can be reused 2 times. Oh! That's strong. Alright. That's insane. That's a 4-hit coin... That's a 4-hit 2-coin skill that can roll up to 21. That's crazy, actually. If the target has 6 plus bleed, coin power plus 1 on skill 3, so it can be 4 to 18, and deal 12.5% more damage for every type of negative effect, so that is 4 negative effects instead of 3, and it caps out at 50%. And it also, the after attack effect gains if the affected member is a member of the ring, apply 1 pierce power up as well. This can only hit Yi Sang at the moment. What? Wait. No. No. No, it isn't. It is not a 4 to 6. It's not a 4 to 10. Why did it lose 3 base power? I'm assuming that's a glitch. Or a miss... I'm assuming they messed that up. So the guard is a 7 to 13 and can gain 7 coin power. So that would make it a 7 to 20 if the opponent has 10 bleed. Uptie 4 makes her passive afflict 2 enemies with potency. And The support passive can trigger 3 times per turn instead of just once. On an on-kill effect? What? Okay, but this skill 2 is wild. You only need 3 negative effects, and believe it or not, Kurikumo Ryoshu already does 3. She does offense level down, paralysis, and bleed. And you're always going to have bleed on the enemy, pretty much. Though, to be fair, the reuse effect comes before the inflicting of the bleed count, so you're going to need bleed on them before you actually hit them with this skill. But 3 negative effects isn't that hard to do, and I'm going to uptie this.
그대께서 새로운 영감을 불러와 주시겠는가? 그렇지 않다면 특별히 흥미가 생기진 않네만.
He really is skibidi.
아하, 그대도 평가의 순간이 궁금했어. 이리 와 보시게. 볼만한 것들을 몇 개 짚어드리지.
God, the art for these IDs is like so red. The nature of art is what shatters like diffuse reflection of radiance upon the irregular surfaces of fragmented mirror shards. It is labyrinthine, unpredictable, completely devoid of any plainly coherent pattern, and unfathomably beautiful. Because anything can be painted, and any sense of imagination brought forth to reality. Even things beyond our ken may be conceived and be used as inspiration through the lens of art created by others. Thus, choosing the ring and the path of art was a decision most wise. Perhaps my life itself has been a living artistry from its incipience. My interests are as diverse as the 7 colors of the light spectrum, fanning and radiating in all directions like shattering rays of diffuse reflection upon an irregular surface. Yet the life of fixation with a single subject, technology, sitting in conferences after conferences with mediocre, predictable discoveries, that was never the kind of life I deserved. Thus it was by great fortune that the pointillists approached me and thought to offer a place among their ranks. A universe of infinity held within a single dot, thus a collection of dots, a collection of infinites does it become. A concentration of dots, a concentration of universes, then birthed anew is yet another ineffably vast universe. The pointillists create art I could behold and ponder for all eternity. My attraction to it must have been written afore it came to be. The graceful title of Student of the Ring gave me fabricated wings of freedom and unbound my potential. What laughably witless days I have endured. My wings were there all along, only waiting to be painted into existence by my hands. My infantine, childish self could never have reached this understanding with his juvenile fascination with tinkering frivolous machine parts together. Ah, how regrettable they are, the days I have wasted in utter inanity. The days I have wasted away in a heedless haze, believing every mired hour I had spent there to be my fate. Thus wielded in my palms is my great brush, a tool with which I shall mold and transform my past. The pointless past is burned as sacrifice for art. What was once perceived to be of no worth is molded into beauty in an instant. I am but a student of the ring, yet should I trace the steps of the maestros who have created countless masterpieces, my very own skills shall grow to its apex ere long. Ah, my heart is now lightened. I should be able to participate in this assignment evaluation with a mind unburdened. It takes little time before I find myself at the evaluation site. A group of people stand uneasily among various revolting artwork that inspire nothing but utter confusion. They plead and plead, knocking fervently at my heart so that their voices may be heard. Yet to my ears they are merely inaudible murmurs, nothing more than bothersome noise. The noise is likely an amalgamation of desperate attempts at receiving a passing grade, but they each receive a failing grade nonetheless. It is all pointless. Yet, indeed, the lack of meaning signifies not the lack of answers. I gather the terrified civilians, inform them that I shall now bequeath upon them a holistic critique of their works. Indeed, a critique of this collaborative effort. Of course, each of their work is a result of individual effort. Yet, should their work be assisted by my artistic eye, unripe as it is, then it shall make for quite the excellent collaborative piece of art. Some of their faces contort with a clear look of bewilderment, a moment of utter ideality. A universally shared look of shock would have been so plain. And with such joy, such delight, I wield my great paintbrush and rapidly pierce it into my ingredients, marking them each with dots. Explosive splashes of red paint. Shock, fear, panic, and desperation. I behold so many final sentiments fade as they drop to the cold floor in all of its unconscious amorphousness, with no more mind to guide the flesh. My heart swells with the excellent presentation. They have prepared for me such a beautiful, collaborative effort where even I, as a mere spectator, was allowed to partake in its beauty. How could I give them anything else but a review most glowing? Thus I rate this artwork A+. Fails everybody else but gives himself an A+. What a snob. Okay. Level 40, we've got 166 HP, so average. 3 to 7 speed, that's average. 38 defense level, that's the same as before. Same resistances as Otis as well. We've got, for 4 Lust owned, on hit, if the target has 6+ bleed, heal 2 SP. Heal 1 additional SP for each type of negative effect on the target, up to 3. If this unit's SP is at max, gain 1 offense level up next turn when this unit heals SP with this passive. The passive activates 4 times max per turn. Okay, that's pretty good. 4 offense level up is quite a bit for just a passive. I feel like we're getting more and more passives that just give SP. Which I guess I can't really be upset about, because SP is maybe the most important thing that an ID can have. But I also feel like he's probably going to be at maximum SP by the time he gets to 4 Lust owned anyways. That might just be me. One ally with the least SP heals 2 SP on hit for every type of negative effect on the target, up to 6. The passive activates 2 times max per turn. This passive is insane. Most teams can inflict at least one type of negative effect. And particularly I'm thinking about this in Burn and Tremor. Tremor maybe has a hard time fueling it, but Burn doesn't, and so this will help Philip Sinclair quite a lot. It's a pretty good support passive. I don't know if you're going to want to run it as a support in Bleed, we'll find out. Skill 1, Paint Over. Am I reading this right? Is that a 2 to 11 Pierce Gloom skill with 3 coins as a skill 1? That's a new roll range for 3-coin skill 1s. I wasn't expecting that. Coin 2, heads hit, inflict +2 count for one of the following effects: Burn, Bleed, Tremor, Rupture, or Sinking, effect selected at random, and coin 3, hit inflicts 2 bleed. That's insane. 2 count for a random status is obviously not going to be useful in teams that rely on this status. Like, you're not going to run this in Sinking. Let's be honest. Though I think he does have good skill affinities for Sinking. It's just not going to be something that you need in an actual Sinking team. At least I don't think so. I might test that out. I can't see it being useful in any of the other team types because Yisang already has like a fantastic... Well, I guess in Burn, I suppose, but you don't really need more Burn count. We have enough of that now. But most of this feels like it's going to be bleed-oriented anyways. Skill 2, Sanguine Pointillism. 1 coin, 8 to 16 Pierce Lust skill. If target has 6+ bleed, Clash Power +1. On hit, 20% chance to reuse coin once, plus 20% more chance to reuse coin for every type of negative effect on the target. On hit, inflict +1 bleed count, and on hit, inflict +3 count for one of the following effects: Burn, Bleed, Tremor, Rupture, or Sinking, effect selected at random. This could theoretically inflict 7 bleed count. No, 8 bleed count. or 2 bleed count and 6 count of whatever other status it manages to select. Wow. Okay. And not to mention, if you do get the reroll, the second hit is a 24. That's really nice. Alrighty then. That's insane. Skill 3, Chematic Coloring. I have to do math in my head. 3 to 15, Sloth Pierce skill with 4 coins. The target has 6+ bleed, clash power +1. I guess every skill from the ring is going to have that. Coin 2, on hit, inflict 1 bleed count. If the target has 4+ types of negative effects, inflict 2 additional bleed count, and inflict 3 count for a random status effect. Coin 3, on hit, inflict 1 bleed. If the target has 4+ types of negative effects, inflict 2 additional bleed, and inflict 2 potency for one of the random effects. And coin 4, deal 15% more damage for every type of negative effect on the target, up to 75%. And after attack, if the target is staggered or defeated, inflict 2 potency for one of the following effects on one enemy with the least type of negative effects. Okay. Okay, I see you. He just inflicts everything. I forgot to look at the defense skill. Nuts. Okay. A defense 10 to 14 block. If target has 6+ bleed, base power +5, so it becomes 15 to 19. I don't really care about that. I forgot to check sanity effects. There are no new sanity effects on Yisang, so I'm going to elect to believe that there's none on Otis either. Okay. This seems pretty good. 20% chance to inflict a ton of bleed count is good. In bleed teams themselves, we still need somebody who just does a lot of potency, I feel like. Up tie 4. If the target has 6+ bleed, clash power +1. Added on to skill 1. Okay. Skill 2, clash power +1 for every 3 bleed on the target up to 2, and coin power +1 for every 3 bleed count on the target up to 3, or up to 2. So, 8 to... Oh, it can reuse twice. It gains the same effect as Otis. That's nuts. This is an insane skill, too. Wait a minute. How much bleed count is that? 12 bleed count, potentially. Okay. The likelihood of that is pretty low, but that's insane. Skill 3, clash power +1 for every 3 bleed on the target up to 2. Coin power +1 for every 3 bleed count on the target, max 2. Okay. And you need 1 less type of negative effect to inflict the additional bleed and bleed count. Deals 10% more damage for every negative effect. And inflict on an additional enemy for the after attack effect. Block becomes Lust, that gains base power +1 for every 1 bleed on the target, up to 10. So it can become a 20 to 24. Alright. Passive activates at 4+ bleed instead of 6, and you gain 2 offense level up. That can be 8 offense level up. Dang. That can put his offense level at 51 by himself. And the support passive, deal 3 additional SP instead of what? I don't actually remember. Oh, that's just new. How does it work? If the target has bleed, heal 3 additional SP. That's literally it. There's no question. Alright, so I tried to get a variety of debuffs using bleed IDs, and it turns out there just aren't a lot. There's Nails, and there's Kurokuma Ryoshu. But aside from that, there's really not a lot of additional negative effects you can inflict without running a lot of IDs from other factions. And so we're using Kurokuma Rodian, because I felt like it. I don't get to use this ID enough, alright? That's all I gotta say. But Pointillists, why did she... Oh, because of whistles. That's one thing I wanted to do, is I wanted to be able to activate whistles. Uh-oh, Greg? Dang. So we still... Okay, I lost 2 clashes this turn. We still do not have a lot of bleed potency infliction just in general, unfortunately. Which stinks. But it's also, like, the problem we've always had as well. Oh, dotting got a reroll. No, dotting isn't the one that rerolls, never mind. Is this really... I don't want this to become Kurokuma Rodia showcase. We're trying to showcase new IDs, game. I want to get some rerolls going, because I think that'd be funny. It does seem like we are inflicting a lot of bleed count, though. And that's always nice. That skill also just looks really good. But man, he is so gay. I support him. But man, every single motion that he does is entirely skibidi. Alright. Yeah, we'll just activate Kokuendo. That rolls so high for a skill 1 with 3 coins. Oh my goodness. I just realized that guy had enough bleed to activate the coin power effects. I see. Do we finally have a team setup that can inflict enough bleed? It kinda looks like it. That's impressive. He has 8 offense level up. Alright. Chill out, you sang. I get you, I get you. Hold on, is Otis's thing... Is Otis's passive is owned? Oh. Alright. That's cool. It inflicted 2 rupture to that guy. I mean, I can't really complain about 2 rupture. It is, in fact, 2 damage, after all. Greg just shot that person to death. Let's not pay attention to it. I just saw Sanguine Pointing roll 4 times, and now it's going to hit the same guy again and kill them. Crazy. Okay. This is, these IDs seem very reliable so far. I am 2 levels under the enemies, for the record. Writes on my notebook, stabs a person. Insane. Oh, that guy still has a lot of HP. Yeah, we... Oh my god. Really? Dang. Okay. That was that 5% chance screwing me over as usual. And now it's gonna take me an extra turn to beat this wave, probably. But that's alright. Because that means I get to have Yisang not be staggered at the start of the next wave. I don't know, he seems maybe a little inconsistent at winning clashes. Like, his rolls are not insanely high, like you would expect for a modern 3-star, after all. And everybody's at 45, so I'm just not going to use any of my lust skills this turn if I can avoid it. They seem pretty decent so far. Just the ability to be able to re-roll as much as they do is hilarious, and generally pretty good. Because rerolls are always going to be nice. Now, I don't know if there's any ego that synergizes particularly well with bleed just in general, but hopefully there is. Actually, do I want to just do this so that I can have my absolute resonance maxed out? Yeah, I haven't seen this animation yet. That's a lie, I've seen it in the trailer, but I haven't seen it in-game yet, is what I meant. Just speed up through this one. That's fine. saw Sanguine Pointillism not reroll at all. It's a little disappointing. Oh well. Dang. That did not do that much damage. I was really expecting it to do a little more. But they do have a lot of bleed now. Ideally, I could have used that again this turn, and then had it target one of these guys. I don't know if she's actually targeting one of those guys, though. Oh, she is. She's targeting the one that I would have wanted it to hit, in fact. So that's good. 26? Alright, Yizang, chill out.
완성되었네.
끝이야.
Yeah, it seems like we're not going to have much trouble activating the rerolls, and that's 10 nails. How? How is that 10 nails? I genuinely do not know. That's 27 bleed with 5 count. That's gonna kill her. Alrighty. Incredible.
거치적거리지만 마.
Oh yeah, they're very dead. Wow. When you get to the point where you can inflict a lot of bleed in even story fights, that's when you know that bleed is finally, like, becoming useful. I think. Like, that couldn't have been just Sanguine Desire, because I only used it once.
걸작을 자아냈나. 마에스트로님이 어떤 평가를
Okay, so he got
내려주실지
almost as much
충분히
damage as
가시적이는구려.
Yisang, despite Yisang being staggered for a turn? Yeah, these IDs seem pretty good for damage. I definitely think that they're cool. I don't know if this is going to convince me to change from Burn or Tremor over to Bleed again. Because I was using Bleed, like, for the first 3 chapters of the game when it first came out. But it fell off pretty hard, and this is the first update where it's like, oh yeah, Bleed is finally coming back. Kind of. I know Red Shoes was supposed to do that, but it really didn't, let's be honest here. Anyways. Cool stuff. I do like the animations quite a bit. Again, they have 0 drip. You can fight me about that one. They seem very, very good. 8 offense level up is really nice. Bleed is a really easy time getting to high sanity thanks to whistles. And so I can't really say anything bad. I mean, Otis did get 3rd highest damage. But I did feel like maybe she was a little underwhelming, but that was probably also because the camera focused on Yisang for most of the fight. So it's probably that they're both doing really well. Incredible. None of us are going to sleep until we deal with this spider. That's insane. I love it. I'm actually not going to change this. I do not care enough. Let me add them to my company. Lyosha did not get a new ID. I don't know why I'm trying to change that. So there we are. There is the Ring Pointillist students in the book. It's cool to see us finally getting anything Ring related to mess around with. It's also cool to see other syndicates showing up as standard fare, because obviously we haven't been getting a lot of that. There is a creature on my wall. I'll deal with that later. But overall, I think they're both actually really solid IDs. Just being able to reroll coins is always going to be a fantastic effect, and they both have that. So I'm definitely not going to complain about that. My chair is squeaky at me. I'm getting distracted so much making this review, and nothing is happening. But anyways, thank you for watching. If you want to add me, my company is here, and the code is in the description. I seem to forget to mention that I put the code in the description. You don't have to see it in the video itself. But I hope you all have a good weekend. I hope we get to talk about the next announcement in stream after this, because I'm going to be streaming more LabCorp after this. Some LabCorp modded. So I hope we'll get to talk about the new update when that comes around. And I hope to see you all there when it happens. Have a good rest of your day. Bye!